It's the best night of the week. We hope you're hungry for Pizza Night with Niki and Mike here on Mercado Airwaves. Now, here are your hosts for Pizza Night, Nicole Mancha and Mike Mercado.
What is going on, friends? Welcome into Pizza Night with Niki and Mike. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, with the lovely, the beautiful, the one, the only, the lady of Mercado Airwaves. Nicole Mancha, how are you?
Good. How is everything with you?
Everything is everything, and I'm excited to get into this subject. It is something I think a lot of people deal with when it comes to dealing with your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your boss, your coworkers. Expectations when someone meets them, when they don't live up to them, whether you set them too high, too low, whatever the case may be. Nicole, broadly, before we really dig deep into this, what do you think about this type of subject? How important is it to tackle, whether it's within yourself or with somebody else, about setting expectations or dealing with expectations?
I think it's something you need to know yourself. I think as people, we expect a lot, just in general, in life. And that's, like you said, with any kind of relationship you have, whether it be with coworkers, your significant other, your parents, whatever it may be, you have expectations from get. And I feel like it's part of the way we're programmed. Maybe it's because of how we grew up or how we learned things. There's that feeling of this person should do this because. And part of the reason I wanted to do this topic was because I was listening to a TED Talk and they were talking about how expectations can destroy relationships. And I had never heard that before. And once they got into it, I was like, I've never thought of that and never realized how detrimental it can be. And
I think it's a very interesting topic when it comes to analyzing relationships with people and within yourself. I think just as important of understanding, let's say, for example, us, like the expectations you have of me, it's just as important to understand the expectations I have of myself, because that's how you're able to kind of mold yourself, build yourself, and, allow certain things to happen. So why don't we go ahead and let's tackle expectations for your parents. Okay. First of all, because I think that one's a little bit of a easier subject, just because I think as you get older, you realize how tough their job was. Yeah. So you realize that they couldn't always do certain things that you wanted them to do, or that you thought maybe they weren't as, hands-on, or they didn't give you the slack, or they didn't give you what you wanted. Right. But I guess as you get older, your parents, that's the one expectation that just seems to completely do a 180.
Well, that's the thing. I think expectations with your parents it's so different because the dynamic is so different, because as you grow as a person, as you kind of fill those roles that they filled at one point, like when you always talk about how you're now the head of your household. Now when something goes bump in the night, it is your job to do it, opposed to your dad. It gives you that kind of reality check of, oh my God, he was doing this for years. Like, your dad had 3 kids by the time he was our age.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like those kind of expectations, kind of knowing what your parents should do for you or what you think they should do for you, and what they're not responsible for you anymore. We're adults. We have our own place. We have our own things. My mom always will text and be like, what do you guys want from the store? Like, I'm going to Costco and I can grab something for you. It's no big deal. Do I think I should have those expectations? Probably not, because I'm an adult and I can do it myself. But I think those things are a little bit smaller, opposed to people who feel entitled to.
That's the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Entitlement to expectations. So, for your example, it's like you expect your mom to love you, but you don't. I
don't expect her to bend over backwards
and
every
give
single
you
day.
$2,000 on a whim.
Right. They worked really hard to get us to this point, to be able for us to kind of take care of ourselves. So it shouldn't be part of their job to then continue to have to take care of us. You know what I mean? Like, we know people who their parents helped them, put the down payment for their house or condo or whatever it may be. That's wonderful. That's not an expectation, though. That shouldn't be an expectation. It's great if your parents can do that for you. It's great for people whose parents are able to pay for their weddings and, all those things. But some people actually feel like that's how it should be. Like, you're my parent. You decided to have children. So this is what I deserve from you. And I think that's kind of where, as you get older, you start to realize, no, I don't deserve any of that. It's just a blessing my parents are able to do so for me.
And I think with those type of situations, especially with like expectations and entitlement and everything, I think the one consequence or lesson learned is gratitude.
Right.
Like you're grateful for, if you were like my family, my parents paid for all our sports.
Yeah.
And like club sports, like on your side of the family, all the nephews and nieces, all the stuff they do, that's a lot of money. And not just financially, it's a lot of time. Like you're thinking like this is Alex and I had this conversation. Shout out to the Good Brothers. You can listen to our last episode that came out yesterday. Check that out.
Plug
in the entire network. That's how pros do it. The big thing we were talking about is like you're sacrificing certain things. You have to sacrifice, time, sleep, money for growth and for development. And I think that's just as important, not just with like a brand or with work, but with, when you're a parent. And it's just, I think all of that comes in together when you're learning as specifically with, your parents. And I'm not saying everybody has as great of parents as we did.
No,
so
I
like
agree.
that's the big thing too. It's like, we know people who have very strenuous relationships with their parents, and, we can't understand that.
Right.
Like we can't understand that type of like their expectations, their entitlement, their gratitude is completely different than the way you and I would look at it and the way other people would look at it. There's levels to it.
Exactly. No, I agree. I think that, but it's like I said about the expectations and things like that with your parents. I think that I appreciate my parents more when it comes to expectations.
If you hear that, I don't know if you can actually pick it up, but Nicole's laughing because Mowgli, our dog, is walking around sneezing because he's a good boy. He has no recording etiquette. You were saying?
Anyways. But I feel like those expectations, when you start to realize that they shouldn't be expectations and that they should, it's just part of why your parents are so great is the dynamic just changes so significantly as you get older, and it really puts things into perspective, especially when we're paying bills, trying to figure out how we're going to buy a house, all those things. And I'm like, wow, they did this and they raise kids and they continue to help. It's something that they do because they want to, not because that we expect them to do it.
And what's interesting about the expectations and the relationship you have with your siblings kind of is in a way very symbiotic with the relationship with your parents, but it completely is also, you talk about full realm of the spectrum. Like it's just full gambit. Like there's some people who, I expect certain things from my brothers when it comes to the way they talk to people, the way they act, like just certain things. But I think that's something like that. Like is that an expectation? Is that entitlement? Like, I can't think of another word for it, but like when you believe somebody should act a certain way, like I don't need you to bring me $1 million, but I expect you to be polite to people.
Right. I think expect is a good way to describe it. It would be like, them coming, like, I'll use your brothers because they come over. You know what I mean? My siblings are in the city, so it's not that commute's not there. But if they come in the house, you don't expect them to ignore me or ignore Mowgli, or you know what I mean? Like you do expect to be polite.
Courtesy?
Like a courtesy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the courtesy, the acknowledgement that this is not just your house, that there are certain rules and guidelines that you have for your own house that may not line up with those that your parents have. Your schedule's a little bit different than mine. You're off during the week. I'm off on the weekend. So when they're here, the idea of, hey, you guys are more than welcome to come over, but I need you to keep in mind, you may not start work until noon tomorrow. Nicole's leaving the house at 7:00 in the morning. So we can't be obnoxious and loud and yelling because it's not fair to her. So there are certain expectations you set up. And I think with our siblings, we're harder on them. I mean,
so interesting.
And it's funny because my mom and I were talking about this yesterday, how my dad isn't as hard on his siblings as my mom is on hers. And I feel the same thing with you. Like, you're definitely not as hard on your brothers. Like, it's so much love all the time. And that's not a bad thing. But opposed to how I am with my siblings, where I'm like, you better buck up or shut up, because...
But I think that's also the same as personality, though. Like, I don't want to be my brother's father.
No,
I know I'm not saying you want to be your sibling's mother, but like my personality doesn't make me want to be confrontational with them. I don't look to me. There's certain people in this world you don't argue with. Like even you in some level, like you're in a different tier. But like when it comes to arguments, like I'm not supposed to argue with my brothers. I'm gonna argue with you. I'm gonna disagree with you more often than not in a more personal level in the sense of like day-to-day living. But like when you don't see your brothers, or like it's like not seeing a dog. It's like there's no reason to have bad animosity with siblings, especially when you're close with them, because like that's supposed to be one version of escape. Just like your significant other is an escape from them and from your other family. It's like there is certain people you don't really want to have that type of.
No, and I agree with that, but I think it's just, here's the thing. Not that you wouldn't tell your brother if you either.
Well, I'll tell them off. I tell them off on the air all the time. Yeah,
but I'm like, not that you wouldn't tell them like you thought they were wrong, but you would say it, I feel, sometimes in a nicer tone because you want to be that big brother. You want to be there to give them that advice that you
right. And there's no mistake that they've made that I'm not. I haven't made. Like
opposed to like my relationship with my younger siblings, where I have no problems, no holds barred. Like it is a rip the Band-Aid situation. Like rip it quick. And you know what I mean? And it's harsh at first, but I mean it in a good way.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like it's all like we talked about like last week. It's just all about how you say it. And but I do have higher expectations for my siblings than I would for like my friends. You come into my house, you should take off your shoes. I shouldn't have to tell you this because we all live together and you know how the house goes. I'm not going to do that to my friends.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's really interesting. You know what? Why don't we take a quick break and let's get into, I think what a lot of people want to talk about is that type of scenario, but with your friends and a significant other. Yeah. You're here with Nicole Mancha, Mike Mercado on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike on Mercado Airwaves. Stay tuned.
Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, Mike Mercado 2333.
So I think you brought up a very interesting point before we hit the break of when your friends come over, you're not going to tell them to take off the shoes. But at the same token, like I've had friends that where I would be able to walk in their house and I eat in their, just go right into their fridge, right into their pantry, just say, hi, mom and dad, even though like obviously, I was just the annoying kid that were friends with their children. It's like, you understand these things, but it is interesting the leeway you give friends opposed to family.
Oh, for sure. And I've always thought it was interesting because I do have a couple friends, like Katie's my best friend. We've known each other forever. Like I shouldn't have to tell you to go to, grab water in the fridge. If you're thirsty, go grab it. You know where it's at. You have two legs. Like figure it out. And that's how it was my whole life in my house. My mom was like, I am nobody's maid. Get it yourself. But then we have friends, like we do the brunch on Sunday, and it's not that I consider them any less of friends. It's just a different relationship that I have because I haven't known them as long, where they're like, oh, let us help watch. No, like don't wash the dishes. Just leave it. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Because you don't want them to feel like they have to do those things for you. Even if they want to, you want them to know like this should be a comfortable, relaxing afternoon opposed to, hey, you should really get on those dishes. Like,
well, is there a moment where you realize like this person has moved beyond like, all right, you could just sit down and it's like, no, get your ass up, let's go. It's like, when do they stop being just friends and, they're still kind of guests. You don't want them to feel like they have to do anything. And when do they become like, no, I don't care. Like, I'm going to, I don't give a shit. I'm going to take a piss with the door open. If you don't want to see it, don't walk by.
Yeah. I think it's just how your relationship with them kind of moves. Like, I feel like I'm very close to certain people because we vacation with them. So you just know everything you didn't need to know about them to be honest.
Shout out to Andy. Oh my God, Amy, you are a saint for you never give them dairy. Go ahead, try to say something. Tell me I'm wrong, Andy. Go ahead, Andrew Lonsky.
But no, it's just like you find out so many things about people. You have late night talks at 10 a.m. or the girl stayed up until 3:00 in the morning just talking and you guys were passed out. Like, that's when I think you kind of cross over that line. And then there are friends that it's not that you're any less close to them. You still consider them a really good friend, but you maybe haven't spent that kind of quality time with them. So it's still that weird space. Like, they don't know everything about you. They don't know about your relationship. I haven't gone to them to be like, hey, Mike really pissed me off today. You know what I mean? Like, we have...
For me, anybody who's been friends with me knows that all it takes is a bottle of like Patron or Hennessy, and we become that type of level of friend. Shout out Robert Evans. He had to deal with that many, many, many times. And Lewis, it was
Speaking
fun.
of Robert Evans, I want my container back.
I think he actually texted me, and I just never responded back to him, so shout out to Robert Evans.
But yeah, no, I think it's, it's not that you consider them less of friends. It's that if you haven't been on that level with them, and it's not that you don't want to be, it's sometimes that the opportunity doesn't present itself.
It's all about time.
Yeah,
it really is,
and like
time
sometimes you have moments like
it could be a day away, it could be a week away, it could be one party away, it could be a bunch
I've
away,
had
who
times
knows?
where like I've hung out with Megan and we've gone walking and then just something comes out and I'm like, I feel really comfortable talking about it, so I'm going to keep talking. And you get on that level with those people.
And it's hard to pinpoint it too, because especially as, again, time moves forward, and just I think your age has to do a lot with it. I was listening to a TED Talk about time, and it's like one of those things where you really do recognize, like, I can't tell you the moment I became friends with Danny. I can't tell you the moment I became friends with these assholes. Like, I don't know anything like that. Like, I can't tell you the moment I felt like it went beyond just being brothers and I became best friends with my brothers. Like, I don't know when those moments happen. Like, I can't tell you when me and my Uncle Jeff became brothers. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to really pinpoint it, but that is true. Like, there is moments at some point where you just realize, like, your comfort level just changed. Right. And it just became a different relationship. But speaking of relationships, it's the one everybody really has to deal with. And I think it's the crux to a lot of different problems and strengths in a relationship is the expectations and the entitlement. And I will use the word entitlement here because you do deserve certain things when you're sharing your life with somebody. And again, this is levels. Like, if you just started dating someone to be married with them for 50 years. Right. Like, there is levels to it. Like, if you've been dating someone for a month, you can't expect them to know everything. Right. But if you've been dating somebody for 5 years, if you've been with somebody for 5 years, you should probably know what their favorite meal is.
Right.
Like, that is like something that's minute as that. It's like there is an evolution.
What's my favorite meal, Mike?
Something very Brussels sprouts, quinoa. What else? What else is very nasty, guys? Think of some nasty foods.
You're the worst.
Fish, but like not good fish.
Oh my God.
What else? You don't like pizza.
I love pizza.
You don't love steak. You don't love hamburgers. You don't love French fries. You don't love anything good.
You're the worst, and you're a liar.
Oh, this is the second show somebody's accusing me of fake news. All right, you know what?
Fake news.
Moving forward.
Forget it. Alex, we're taking over. We're kicking Mike off.
No, you guys have a rivalry, by the way, that nobody's seen, so we'll see about that.
No, I think relationships are so hard. I mean, I feel like you have these high expectations for someone because you want them to be the best version of themselves. But I also think there are expectations from people who expect you to be the best version of what they want. And that's really different, right?
Sure.
Because you look at it like, oh, well, I want you to be the best version of yourself. Or I want you to be the best version of what I think you should be.
But like, that's where's that line, and like, when does it become fair and unfair?
So I think that expectations are dangerous. I think you shouldn't have expectations in the sense of what I expect you to do. I think you need to be open and honest about what you want from them and what makes you happy. And then you also need to learn what type of person they are. It's like what I talked to you about that one time, the love languages. Like, you need to learn what speaks to somebody in a certain way. There are times when, I get really annoyed with you, or you say something and I feel like it's hurtful, but you don't. I expect you to say sorry.
No.
You're not going to say sorry. But the thing is you've said sorry probably 3 times.
Well,
in 2 years.
In the sense of as an initial reaction. Like, once I've had time to think about it and I realize that was wrong, I'm going to apologize. But, like, you're never going to get an initial sorry from me.
No.
Because especially
and that's
at that
a me
time,
thing.
No, but, like, for me, one of the big things is I truly believe. Here's the one thing. I'm never malicious and I'm never vicious.
On purpose.
But, like, even then, like, I never will say somebody's fat, ugly,
no,
unimportant. I will never diminish anybody. Like,
No, but I think sometimes you know what will upset somebody, so you say
Everybody's
it to
like
push
that,
the
everybody's
to poke
like
the
that.
bear. No, and I'm
Everybody's
not
like
saying
that.
it's not, but like if we're talking about expectations, like that's just an example that I like off the top of my head. Like I don't expect you to say sorry immediately. You're just not going to do it, so I shouldn't expect it. That doesn't mean I don't want you to do it. It just means that I know I need to give you time to decide how you feel about a certain subject. I'm definitely more prone to saying I'm sorry right afterwards because I don't like to feel that kind of guilt on me as a person.
Maybe I'm a sociopath and I don't feel some of the guilt initially. I just also think like I think I'm very I think that I come out very much with, and I don't say anything just off the cuff. Like I'm never just gonna blurt something out.
Yeah.
Like it's an observation. And maybe the thing is, like, obviously when it comes to family and relationships, like, you just know more about people, so it's just more blatant. But, like, I talk to everybody in a way where they know where I'm coming from. And, again, I'm not malicious. I'm a very kind person. But if I think you're doing something wrong or, you know, I feel like you're coming at me in a certain tone, I'm going to respond accordingly. Like, first of all, I don't raise my voice.
No.
I don't raise my voice. I learned this. Shout out to my Uncle Jeff. I've learned one thing. Nothing gets accomplished when you try talking over somebody.
Yep.
And like it's been a great lesson in radio. You don't want to talk over anybody. You don't want to interrupt anybody. And here's the thing. Your significant other had a parent.
Yeah.
They've had teachers. They've had a boss. That's not you. There's no need to try to, you know, pull some, and I'm not even using this as as like nowadays where you hear men trying to be having authority over women. Like just in general, like there's no reason to try to want to have authority over anybody. What does that ever accomplish? Unless they're your kid, there's no reason you should want authority over a person.
Who was that? Was it Joe Rogan earlier who was saying that people should not have power over people?
Yeah,
It is
exactly.
not a good situation.
Yeah, it never has been.
No.
So with that in mind, it's like, I'm never going to make you feel like I know. I'm not telling you something or I'm holding something back. Like, you know, if it's something small, like, you know, like if I have a coworker who I think eats a bad breakfast and it stinks up the studio, like, I don't know, something random like that, like I might not bring it up because as long as they have a full belly and they're happy at work, what do I care?
Yeah.
But if I think that they're showing up to work a little too late or too aggravated or just not in the right zone, I'll tell them because you're never not going to know where you're at with me.
Right.
And I think that's the truth. It's like, I think that's more important than anything. And I think I expect that with people. I expect you to tell me how you feel in front of me. I expect you to know the truth. I expect to know intentions, goals. I don't need to know your deepest thoughts, but when it comes to our relationship, whether you're my best friend, whether you're a coworker, whether you're my girlfriend, whether you're my father, my mother, my grandparent, I want to know where we're at and where we're going.
And I think it's funny because I think it's just kind of what you learn, right? Because I think with me, there are definitely times where you know I'm frustrated or annoyed or whatever, but I don't want to talk about it and I'm not going to talk about it and you won't bother me for it, even if you know it's with you, because you know at the end of the day we're secure because if it was really that big of a thing, I would bring it up.
But in that scenario, it's just about with anybody, like using that example or using, again, a parent, using a friend. If they're frustrated, whether they're frustrated, upset with you or with another situation and they're not ready to talk about it, all you need to do, this is my golden rule, whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here. Yeah. It's like, I may not be the smartest man. I may not have a degree. I may not, solve all the world's problems, but I do have certain skills, which is not even skills. I was born with certain things. I have 2 ears.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's it. It's like, and I have a mind to process, and all of us do this. We have a mind to process, and you take a second to hear somebody out, and you allow them to be upset and let them work through their emotions. Yeah. Unless they're going to hurt themselves or hurt somebody, you allow them to work through it.
Right.
All you can do is be there to help. And when they're ready to take advice or ready to be real with you, that's what it is. But, I expect that. The one thing is, though, I think the golden rule is whether you agree with somebody or you disagree with somebody, you respect people.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where my rule comes from. I don't yell at people.
Yeah.
Because you respect somebody. You treat them like they're people. Because guess what? Like, there's nothing in a world today where we all feel like there's levels of humanity.
Yeah.
Like, this is where you belong. This is how people should treat you. It's like, you know, I love Portillo's.
Yeah.
And they sent out that tweet after Kanye West and Kim Kardashian had their baby. They named the baby Chicago West.
Yeah.
So they tweeted out saying, well, in honor of the baby's birth, we're going to give the baby lifetime of free Portillo's. And you see a bunch of tweets from people saying, why are you taking care of them? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And, we've been going here. How about you donate that food to schools that don't have meals? Like, and that's where it comes, like, all that. Everybody's due some type of respect, and just because that baby's name, and I don't know, well, it's a baby, like, it's done nothing to nobody, but that idea of, when the royal family has a baby, it's more important. Why is that baby more important than, the baby right now being born in the Alexian brothers?
Right.
And I think we're all due the decent humanity of allow that respect, that allowance of just life, the opportunity to have a prosperous life. At least that's the only, that's to me is the golden rule of all of this.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, I think when expectations come into that disarray or that weird area where you don't really know if they're good or bad, is, let's say every single day you take out the trash. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's, for listeners, that's like Mike's job. Because I hate taking out the trash. I hate doing a lot of things. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'm a dirty person. But I hate doing a lot of things. That doesn't mean I won't do it if it's building up. I will. I'll cave. But, like, Mike takes out the trash for the most part. But it's like one of those things where, let's say you take out the trash every single day. One day you forget. One day it's just sitting there. And I come home. And I go, well, what the hell? Why didn't he take out the trash? Like, that's it. Those expectations destroy relationships. Because any relationship you have, there needs to be a give and take.
Very interesting.
And not being able to do it the one time is the problem. There was a post that this guy made on Facebook, and it was funny because I was like hearing all these talks and stuff like that. And he's talking about his ex-wife and how when they were married, everything was great and wonderful. They had 2 kids. It was wonderful. But then he felt like she wasn't attracted to him. All these things. Basically, he ended up having an affair and getting divorced and blah, blah, blah. So he sees his wife later, and he's like, I thought I would be happy when she got into a relationship, and I wasn't. Like, I was actually really upset about it because all of the love that I should have bestowed on her and all the things that I expected of her, she went to work. She came home. She cooked. She cleaned. She took care of our kids. She did all these things, but because he wasn't getting attention, he felt like it was part of the that was part of his expectation, when not realizing that doing all those things is giving you attention, because she could have done none of those things and been like, feed yourself, take care of yourself, do your own laundry, do all these things. Having expectations can destroy things like that because you focus so much on the little things opposed to the grand scheme of things. Instead of me, let's say you came home and you vacuumed and you mopped and you did this,
which I did.
And you I know you did, but I got the Swiffer, so
for me to use.
Yes.
Thank you for the ironing board for Christmas.
But like, what I'm saying is you did all that, but you didn't take out the trash.
Which I did.
Why?
Fourth wall broken.
Can you
continue with your story?
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
The point is that I shouldn't look at what wasn't done. You look at what was done. You know what I mean? The expectations shouldn't be so small and minuscule because it destroys relationships. The one thing I don't really mind doing for the most part is cooking. If I come home, I don't mind cooking, but I don't mind it.
No, you don't. I was just gonna make fun of you. Yeah, you don't mind cooking. You hate cleaning, but you love the cooking part.
I don't mind the cooking part. Hey, I put away the dishes today.
Dishwasher.
The point is they made it into the dishwasher.
Okay, cool. All right, no hate.
Because I usually just leave it on the stove.
Fair enough.
But the thing is you could look at it as, oh, great. Exactly what you just said. Like, she cooked, but she didn't put it away. Why does it have to be everything?
Right.
But it's,
right.
You know what I mean? And
well, it was more for
no,
a bit,
I know it
right?
was a joke,
yeah.
but like, you know what I'm saying? But that's a good example of expectations. And, your schedule, my schedule is very different in the sense of you work almost the same amount of hours, but it's in a shorter time frame. So you have 3 days off. I work Monday through Friday, same time frame, just different hours. So I don't get that same time amount off. It just doesn't equivalate.
Now, I think that's very interesting because I think something very important in those scenarios too is finding hobbies and staying busy.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't need attention. You don't need to be all over your wife if like you're too busy fulfilling yourself. Like, look, like you said, I work hot giggity, but I work my full 40 in 4 days.
Right.
But when I'm quote unquote off, I'm here working at the network. I have interviews every week. I'm doing these shows. You're working out, hanging out with my family, going to watch these movies. Just staying up to things. Like I don't have enough time to feel down about myself about anything. It's like you're too tired. You appreciate the moments you do have, the attention you do get. It's like those mean something. It's like there's too much there's too much selfishness when it comes to that specific. Like here's my thing. The only thing I ever expect is from you, let's say for a relationship, like the only thing I expect is honesty. I don't know, anything else is just the relationship building. But honesty is the most important things. Like, do you love me? Don't you? Do you like me? Don't you? Do you hate me?
I feel
don't
like those
you?
are two very different things. I love you all the time.
Yeah, right. And then you don't have to like anybody. Yeah, no, it's so true. But like,
what I tell you,
are
all
you
the
into it?
time.
Are you into it? Are you invested? Are you like?
Yeah.
Honesty is the most important thing, and it's all some of it's trivial, like just annoyances.
Yeah.
But like, that's also a person's characteristics. Like things
Right.
that you find annoying are also some of the things that.
And I think in relationships, no matter what relationship, you need to remember people aren't mind readers. They don't know what you're thinking or what you want. When I came home today, I think is a really good example. I came home and I walked into the room and I realized we still had laundry. And I'm like, great, still have laundry. And the thing is, I didn't ask you to do it. So how do you know that I want you to do it? Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's things like that.
And then, like, the counter is, like, had you said something, be like, oh, that's cool. Like, you have a clean kitchen, a clean living room, a clean bathroom. Like, It's one of those things where you can. The golden rule, again, is, like, you don't know other people's levels. Like, you don't know what, like, you don't.
Exactly.
And that's why, like, okay, one of the lessons I've learned is, like, when somebody walks into the door, you don't hound them. You say, hello, how are you? And you wait for their initial reaction. So when you come home, it's just a very much like a wave. How are you? Why don't you go in and take off your shoes? Take off your jacket.
I love my mother. I love her so much, and I don't think she listens, so that's a good thing now.
She supports us on Patreon.com/. She supports us at Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We can listen to all our shows ad free and before anybody else, including our UFC and MMA interviews. And coming soon, another one of our amazing Hollywood, sneak peek. Our Hollywood interviews coming later on this week.
Yes.
But continuing.
But anyway,
you don't know anything about it.
You don't tell me anything about these
things.
Scoop,
because you leak things to the media. Fake news. Continue.
That's accurate. Yeah. But no, like, I love my mom. But the second you walk in the house, she is a freaking pit bull.
Sure.
Like, is this done? What is going on? And I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, what? I just walked in the door. Can you give me 2 effing seconds to, like, figure out my shit right now before you start coming at me with all of these different things? But that's the thing, like, with expectations, with this, with that, I also think that the comparison thing is a really bad idea to start doing. Like the whole idea of, you're like, oh, well, if you said that to me, this is what I would say to you.
Yeah.
That's a really dangerous thing.
Yeah, of course, because that's arguments. Yeah.
Well, and you just can't compare because, your thing is, well, I did this, this, and this. And I'm like, yeah, but I work extra shifts on the weekends. I work 60 hours a week. I do this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a rabbit hole. It's a rabbit hole.
It just goes down this place and it becomes an animosity thing and it becomes vengeful when it can be something so simple as, being like, hey, I know you're not going to like it and I know you're not going to enjoy it, but can you please throw in a load of laundry?
Yeah.
Asking you to do that, you may not be thrilled about it, but guess what? When you have clean laundry, everyone's going to be happy, right?
But I also think, like, there's arguments waiting to happen because, like, to me, chores are no big deal. Like, I like doing chores actually because it keeps me busy amongst, like, a lot of people don't understand when you're recording or editing these shows. A lot of time is spent uploading, buffering, and just a lot of it is stuff you got to just wait for. So to me, like, that's why I enjoy doing the vacuuming and cleaning and doing loads of laundry and so on and so forth. But, like, I can imagine somebody who actually doesn't like doing, or anybody, like if it's something I didn't enjoy and then like having somebody get mad about it and be like, oh, not only do I have to do something I don't like, but now they're pissy at me. Like that's just waiting. Yeah.
Attitude. That's another big thing. I think when you are talking about relationships with people, like there are times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to punch you right in the throat because you have an automatic eye roll.
Yeah.
And your mom said it because the one time we were talking about it and you're like, I don't do that. Your mom's like, yeah, you do. And you're like, you had no idea that you like have this initial reaction. I'm like, that is the most obnoxious thing a person can do is eye roll. But think about it, because you know what, if our nephew did that to you, you'd be like, what the fuck is this kid giving me an eye roll? Like,
well,
because it's an attitude. But the thing is, it's an attitude thing. Whether you notice it or not is completely different. Like to do it in a way like to be bratty is very different than it being in,
no, I get it. Like it's just, but I think naturally I'm very much like, if I don't think something's a good idea, like I'm gonna.
But I don't even think it's that. I think sometimes it's when you feel like you're being told to do something.
Oh yeah. Oh well, that's my big thing. Like, don't tell me what to do. Like I'm a grown man. Like the government already takes a lot of my money away. Like ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do.
FICA, and why are they taking my money?
Shout out to friends. Also, shout out to Rosa Enriquez. She's been pissy at you for not mentioning her. So.
Oh yeah.
Are you happy now?
Yeah, she's my favorite. Are we done? Is that part
you don't have
done?
to lie. Go ahead. Yeah, we can move on. Yeah.
But no, I think it's that whole idea of knowing kind of what you expect from your partner, knowing what you expect from your friends, having those realistic goals. Realistic needs to be a part of that conversation because there are things that you do for somebody that you should just do.
Right.
And there are things you do for somebody because you want to do them. You don't need a thank you every single time.
I mean, I do, but like normal people don't.
Right.
Yeah, right.
No, but that's the thing, right? There are some people who need that.
I mean, like, I need almost everything. Like, I'm the greatest ever. Go ahead.
Yeah, but some people need constant validation.
Like me.
And I think that if you know those kind of expectations, then you're in a better spot. I'll do some things around the house, or I'll make things, or I'll put things together because I want to do it. I don't expect a thank you. When I make dinner, I don't expect a thank you. It's nice to get one. I don't expect it because if I'm making dinner for myself, I'm obviously not going to leave you out unless you really made me mad. I don't think I've never made you dinner, like when we were planning on having dinner together. So like if that ever happens, know the kind of angry I am.
I also I think a lot of it too is politeness. Like I feel like say anything you will about me. I'm very polite.
Oh, for sure. To everyone except, people that you're closest to and you don't feel like it.
Yeah, but...
You're a polite person. When Radio Mike comes out, he is the most polite.
I hate that people think it's a gimmick.
It is a gimmick.
It's not a gimmick.
I mean, it's not a gimmick, but like you're you times like 1,000.
Nah, I don't think so.
Because like, I mean, I come home and and like no conversation past that point until, what do you want to do for dinner? Because that's literally what we're going to ask each other until we die.
That's the
what
golden
do you want
rule.
for dinner? What do you want for dinner?
Right. It's one of the golden rules. I've had a lot of golden rules this episode.
Yeah, you have. But like, it's, but that's normal, Mike, though, because it's a normal human thing. I'm a very chatty person. And sometimes I swear to God, you sleep with your eyes open. Like you're there, but you're not really there because you're like, yeah, and I'm like, he has no clue what I have said.
Which is bull because I actually do. It's a gift.
Most of the time, but I feel like it's like the general.
But here's because it's another golden rule. When I'm at my job,
we're like at 12 now.
Yeah, whatever. I'll make a list of it. When I'm at work, so I also work at a broker radio station. So there's a lot of different shows, a lot of different ethnicities. And the one thing that we check out for is to make sure I run 3 radio stations. So I have to make sure I'm listening to all 3 simultaneously. So like, even if I don't necessarily like one may be Spanish, one will be English, and let's say one is Ukrainian.
Yeah.
It's like the 2 I can understand, the Ukrainian I can't understand, but I'm listening to one, I'm listening to the English and Spanish, and I'm hearing out for the Ukrainian one. The key is when you're saying something, it's all about the inflection. Yeah. This is a superpower right here. It's all about the inflection and looking for keywords. So once I realized like, oh, this isn't just something that like she's just trying to vent out, like and for anybody, like this is not something they're just trying to vent out. This is something actually like I need to be invested in this, like not just invested in the sense like, oh, they're gonna need me, they're gonna need something, like they're gonna need a support, a word back, just full 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. But, I also know that sometimes it's not about what I think. Sometimes it's just like, hey, listen to my ass, sit there, enjoy.
Exactly.
And that's with anybody. It could be with anybody. It could be with anybody.
Right. And I think, there are certain things where I know that you don't necessarily want to talk about, and not even bad things, just like when I talk about apartments and stuff like that. You don't want to, because honestly, it like exhausts you before we've even started.
And it's just, I'm sick, about fourth wall, real world. So it's like, we moved a lot recently. So I'm kind of sick of moving. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's no fun in it. Like, I don't enjoy, you've known this for me about me. Like I enjoy doing certain things, like looking for certain things, but like apartments just really frustrate me.
They frustrate I don't think I know anybody who after like the first 2 apartments goes, oh my God, this is so much fun.
It's not.
No, it's really frustrating.
There's a lot that goes into it.
And okay, that's another thing. I have very high expectations for what I'm looking for in an apartment.
Which could be.
Because it's a good and a bad thing. I looked at one today for the summer, and I was like, I came home and I'm like, you know what? I love the idea of it, but I'm glad I went to go see it because it didn't feel like home. When we walked into our place now, it felt like home. We just need a little more space with the podcast and all that stuff going on. I'd like to be, on the ground floor so we can take Mowgli out easier. Like things like that is just what I'm looking for now. But, it's one of those things you have to have an open mind, and that's why I start looking so early, is so that I kind of get a feel for what I'm looking for, because then when the time comes, I'm not trying to fit 17 appointments in a week because I'm like, shit, I have 3 weeks to make a decision, opposed to when I can go over the next, 4 or 5 months and be like, okay, where do I want to look? What does my credit need to be at? What do we need to have saved, right? Because there are some places that require you to have a security deposit plus that. Having those things sorted out helps make those decisions. But I know it's not something you want to hear because you're like, we still have 5 months before we need to make a decision. But 5 months goes really quickly.
It's very true.
Like, think about how fast the 2 years, like, we've been living together for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Like, and think about how fast that went. Huh? It was glorious for you, I know, and it just flew by because time flies when you're having fun.
That's why, it's so glorious. I didn't realize, like, wrinkles, no sleep, gray hair.
You're so lucky to have me.
Nicole, let's put a bow in this. We'll be back here on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike on Mercado Airwaves.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
All right, Nicole. Now that I've had enough self-reflection and realized that I'm aging faster and faster every day in this relationship and in this network, thank you. You have any last words about this is a really fun episode. We kind of flew through this, and it like a pretty meaty episode for something I thought we were going to kind of.
I think it can go in so many different directions. I think we got really real with how I'm very open with things. So I always am willing to talk about things that I feel and things that may have irritated me. And like, he knew I was irritated earlier, and he was like, I'm just going to let this girl be annoyed and paint her picture.
But at the same time, I'm like, let's put it on the radio. I don't care.
Right. But that's the thing. But that's what makes it good, right? Because then I wasn't feeling it when we started, and then we started getting into it. And I'm like, okay, this is a good time to kind of air out how you feel and really understand. Sometimes you have to remind yourself where your expectations lay.
Remember, welcome to the radio world. That's one of the beautiful things.
But it's like, when you talk about it, it reminds you where your expectations lay and reminds you where you need to be and what your mind frame needs to be. And is this going to benefit me? Is it going to benefit him? Or is it going to benefit us? Because at the end of the day, when you're in any relationship you're in, it should benefit the both of you. And especially with your significant other, it has to be a benefiting us situation. Benefiting me, benefiting you is not going to help us move forward in the direction that we would like to go in life.
Yeah, very well put, Nicole. I think just in general, it's like you said, open communication, being realistic, and just, I think it's just, it really is as simple as talking to people. And perspective. Realize how good sometimes life is bad, how good sometimes life can be, and go from there. But that'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for keeping it with us. This was a really fun episode. Nicole, thank you so much. You have anything you want to plug? Anything Anything you're working on? Anything like that?
So I am actually working on a piece right now, and I am going to post it soon. I'll let you guys know. I can put up the link.
Perfect.
So that you guys can get to it. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's kind of something that I've worked on prior to.
And you're going to get really busy coming up in the next month.
Yeah, so my class starts again for creative writing. I have an internship that I'm doing a lot of like content marketing for, and I'm doing content marketing really for work right now. So
that's
it's
cool.
Oh, and I'm helping paint the office.
It's really cool.
Yeah, they let me choose the colors, so
Nice.
and
I
gave
know
me
you're
the company
excited
credit
about
card to buy furniture. So let's just
and
say
coffee on the side. She's going to hide the $8. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So it's going to be exciting the next few months. I'm really stoked to see where we're at, and hopefully that means that we'll get more stuff going here too.
Cool. Sounds awesome. Well, thank you guys so much again for joining us. You can follow us everywhere in the universe. On Twitter, you can follow me at Mercado2333. More importantly, please like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Do us a huge favor if you're listening to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us so you can be up to date with every single one of our videos we're posted. YouTube.com/Mike Mercado2333. We're on iTunes. Do us a huge favor. This is very important. Like, rate, review, and share. It helps us get up the billboard so people can discover us. That's iTunes.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you have an Android or Google phone, we have you covered. We have a SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/Mercado Airwaves. You can check out all of our interviews, all of our shows right there as well. And of course, if you want to see anything behind the scenes, we have some cool stuff Nicole's actually working on. We'll post it at Instagram.com/Mike Mercado2333. I really want to give a shout out to every one of our single producers here at Mercado Airwaves. They support us by going to Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have 2 tiers just for you guys right there. One of them, you get any one of our episodes ad-free and before anybody else. Before we post it on iTunes, before it's posted on SoundCloud, before it's on YouTube, you get to check out any one of our interviews. We've had UFC Hall of Famers and champions, Bellator champions. We've had people in Hollywood. They've been really cool, really gracious to join us on the show, and you can get that before anybody else. Or if you would like to sponsor us, we have a very diverse group of audience, guys, diverse group of shows. It's a great place to get your brand. We'll make sure people get to know exactly what's great about your company. Check it out. It's Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Nicole, thank you so much again for taking some time for us this week. We really enjoyed it. Some great perspective. Any last words?
No, I'm super excited for next week. I can't wait, and I can't wait to put some stuff on Instagram and show you guys what we're kind of working on.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. Love you. We'll see you next time here on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike on Mercado Airwaves.
Night.
Thanks for joining us here on Pizza Night with Niki and Mike here on Mercado Airwaves.